This is VOA Africa. Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory in for Take It the Way You Want. It's Tuesday, August the 13th. This is Africa 54. An Ebola treatment trial shows promise in the Democratic Republic of Congo. South African brands shine bright at a London fashion show. And Senegalese conjoined twins defy the odds at their new home in Wales. We begin our broadcast tonight with good news in the fight against Ebola. It appears that scientists are a step closer to finding the first effective treatment for the deadly virus after two potential drugs showed encouraging survival results in a clinical trial in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here's Nathan Frandino with the details.
Hope may be on the horizon for those fighting the deadly Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This after scientists with the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases announced Monday that two potential drugs showed a survival rate of as much as 90% in a clinical trial. The two experimental drugs were developed with antibodies harvested from survivors of the Ebola infection. Authorities say they'll now offer the treatments to all patients in the DRC. The trial began last November and has been conducted in 4 treatment centers across the country, with some 681 patients enrolled. The promising results come amid the second largest Ebola outbreak in history. At least 1,800 people have died since it began spreading in eastern Congo last August. From 2013 to 2016, more than 11,300 people were killed in West Africa in the world's largest ever Ebola outbreak. Officials said the trial's positive findings were encouraging, but not enough to stop the epidemic for good.
Nathan Frandino of Reuters with that report. Now, a mother and her son are being discharged from a Congo Ebola treatment center in Goma, North Kivu, after 29 days of treatment at the facility, raising hopes of a breakthrough to complete cure of the virus. Now, doctors pronounce the two completely healed, a step that gives courage to the 87 million people in Congo and neighboring countries that are living in fear of being infected. Esperance Nabintu and her 2-year son Fataki walked home Tuesday morning after a brief action outside the treatment facility in Goma. Nabintu and her son contracted Ebola from her husband, who died a month ago of the virus in Ituri.
I feel very good, and my son is also well. My message to everyone is that Ebola is real. People should seek doctors' attention as quickly as possible when they feel unwell.
A World Health representative in Congo sought to reassure the local population. Well, now, the Congo government has now appointed just all.
We invite the community members to welcome Ebola survivors with open arms. They are fully cured and present no danger. We invite everyone to support them and facilitate their reintegration. The fight against Ebola continues in Goma, and we invite all the international partners.
Well, the Congo government has now appointed Esperance Nabintu to be the country's ambassador in the fight against Ebola. Officials believe she will influence a change in mindset among the population that does not believe Ebola is real. Some don't even bother seeking medical attention when sick, which makes it easy for the virus to spread. Sandstorms, thunderstorms, and villagers reluctant to speak. These were the conditions faced by hundreds of French troops and 100 allied Malians who were searching for 50 jihadists in Mali's savannas during an operation in Gourma district. Francesca Lina has more.
Hunting jihadists in central Mali. These French soldiers were prepared for the intense heat and difficult terrain. But the hardest part of all is getting information out of civilians. In the Gourma district, 400 troops and 100 allied Malians are searching for around 50 jihadists thought to be hiding among the villagers. But in the thatch and wood villages, nobody wants to talk. They worry that divulging information could cost their life.
The
security situation is not easy. People are really scared of what is going on. You can see what's happening here for yourself. In fact, there's mistrust which is set in. People don't trust each other anymore. No one knows what their neighbor is capable of. So really the situation is not easy.
In one village, troops separated women and children and searched the men, checking their smartphones for jihadist propaganda. But even when incriminating content was found, the soldiers had to let the suspect go. The evidence was only circumstantial. Operation Barkhane has been an endless game of cat and mouse, with jihadists who know the terrain well and can hide easily among tight-lipped civilians. It was intended to be just a 5-year mission in the wake of Operation Serval, a French offensive that pushed back rebels and allied Islamists from northern Mali's vast desert in 2013. But with constant obstacles hindering progress, the operation may have many more years left to run.
Well, the report was by Francesca Lina of Reuters. Over 500 migrants on board the rescue vessels Ocean Viking and Open Arms remained stranded at sea on Tuesday. No European state member has asked the European Union to coordinate the disembarking among countries. The Ocean Viking ship, run by Doctors Without Borders with Franco-German charity SOS Mediterranean, rescued 81 people on Sunday and another 105 on Monday, for a total of 356 on board now of the aid boat. The Spanish NGO vessel Open Arms has been at sea for 12 days and is still waiting for port approval to disembark its 151 rescued migrants. 8 people with health issues were taken by a rescue dinghy to Malta for treatment on Monday. Now, for more on the stranded migrants, Flavio Di Giacomo of the International Organization for Migration joins me by phone from Rome, Italy. Flavio, welcome to Africa 54.
Good evening.
Good evening. Now, what is leading to this this situation where hundreds of people are literally floating on water?
Yeah, we are very worried because it is not the first time that we have seen something like that in the Mediterranean this year. Every time there is a rescue operation carried out by NGO, nobody actually no state, no European state is providing the safe port, the disembarkation, the authorization to disembark the migrants in the safe port. And every time it takes 1 week, 2 weeks in order to get a safe port for these migrants. Now we are talking about 507 migrants. So a lot of people who are, many of them are escaping the situation in Libya, which is dramatic.
Yes.
And there are children, there are women, and the Italian government, the Maltese government, actually they are not providing any kind of authorization.
Now,
the point is, according to the law of the sea, migrants, the people who are risking their lives at sea must be saved. But the life of the law of the sea also says that these migrants, these people saved at sea, must be sent and brought to a safe port. So it must be done.
Now,
it is the international law, actually.
Flavio, the law exists, but Italy is saying that it has done that before so many times, it cannot continue doing that. What are the guidelines for the rest of the European Union countries? How do they come in, and how are do the laws apply in this situation?
Well, this is just a political problem at this point. I mean, we had a few weeks ago a meeting in Paris where the European member states agreed to accept the relocation of migrants disembarked to Italy, but Italy did not participate for political reasons, of course. And so we have this kind of standoff any time there is a rescue operation, and this ship-to-ship approach. And all the victims of this situation are migrants. We have just to remind that we have not now seen any kind of migration crisis in Europe. This is very important because everybody's talking about migrations and arrivals by sea, but we have just registered this year 4,000 arrivals in Italy and 1,600 in Malta. So in Italy we have 6 million people and just 4,000 arrivals of migrants. Last year they were 20,000 and 2 years ago they were over 100,000. So we have not seen any kind of emergency crisis. It's just a political debate. For electoral reason, for having the votes of the public opinion, whatever. But again, the victims are the migrants, and the national law should be respected, and these migrants should be provided with a safe port.
Now, Flavio, we know that the ships actually are needed to rescue other possible migrants at sea. Do you know at all if there's any conversation going on right now on what to do with the 507 people at sea today?
Well, for the moment, we do not have any kind of conversation. We don't know about any kind of conversation about these 500 people. This is quite impressive because after 12 days, I think that somebody should start to move on. We know that Malta agreed in order to receive only the people who have been rescued off the Maltese shores. But we don't know anything about other kind of conversation. We know that an Italian tribunal actually today said that the Italian government should at least give the authorization to land to 31 unaccompanied minors who are on board, and this is something. But politically speaking, there is a lack of interest on this drama. I would like also to stress that today we have seen that 100 migrants have been intercepted and rescued by the Libyan Coast Guard and sent back to Libya. But again, we are also worried about that because Libya also offered the port to these 500 migrants, those who are on the ocean beacon and the open arms. But Libya is not a safe port. It's a place where there are military clashes and the human rights of migrants cannot be respected because migrants are sent to arbitrary detention. So migrants cannot be sent to Libya. And we know that some people, some representatives of the Italian government said that these migrants should be sent to Libya. But again, this is a very, very known situation. Migrants cannot be sent back to Libya.
A really sad situation. We hope there will be a better resolution. Flavio, thank you very much. That's Flavio Di Giacomo, International Organization for Migration. Now, South African designers were center stage at African Fashion Week London, opening the show with a dazzling catwalk featuring beaded shoes and watches. The event provides a platform for young and upcoming African designers to be showcased on an international stage. Here's Serena Chowdhury.
Lunga Ntuli used to be a car guard in South Africa. Now he's the brains behind the upcoming Ellen Watches brand, which recently featured on the catwalk at Africa Fashion Week London.
We want to dominate Africa. We want to tell the African stories. We want to tell the story of Ubuntu. We want to tell the story of Utando throughout the world. So we are saying we are Ellen Watches. We are coming from the little area called the Tembeni, but we are building a brand that is going to outlive us, that is going to be big, that is going to dominate in Africa and in the entire globe.
His watches sell for between $60 to $75, depending on the size and the style. Each watch strap takes one full day to make. And he wasn't the only South African designer to turn heads at the UK show. Gugu Bengu's unique beaded shoes collection garnered plenty of interest. In its 9th year, Africa Fashion Week London was created by Nigerian entrepreneur Princess Ronke Ademilui, who wanted to give young and small business designers an international platform for their work. This year's show featured designers from across the continent, featuring a range of couture from bridal outfits to urban chic. But she wants more.
It would be good if there was some Pan-African collaboration, you know, from different African countries coming together. Even the West as well, you know, collaborating with some of the, the Western designers collaborating with some of the African designers, not just taking our designs and making it look like it was theirs, you know. Instead of saying inspired by Africa, they can actually collaborate with some of the African designers.
She's now planning to expand the brand further with Africa Fashion Week Dubai in October and shows in America and Jamaica in 2020.
Well, thanks to Serena Chowdhury for that report. And we'll be right back.
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international calling talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Nespresso are turning recycling into cycling with a new bike made of used aluminum coffee capsules. Each recycle bike, designed by Swedish bicycle and lifestyle brand Velocity, is made of around 300 Nespresso coffee pods. Approximately 40% of the bike frame is made of recycled contents, a mix of the capsules and other recycled aluminum. Nespresso's recycling scheme is available in 53 countries. Recycled bikes cost just over $1,400, and for every bike sold, another will be donated to a schoolgirl in Africa to help them access education. Next up, what's claimed to be the world's first plant hotel has opened in London. The free service is meant to give peace of mind to plant owners while they go on their summer holidays. Specialist spa treatments, all-inclusive food and drink, and plenty of space, whether you like the sun or shade, are available to the leafy and spiky customers. The service is run by plant delivery service Patch. And finally, about half the population in animal shelters in the U.S. is comprised of unwanted cats. In West Hollywood, a cat cafe has devised a way of making potential pet owners interact with shelter cats over a cup of coffee. Cat cafes continue to trend around the world, but in West Hollywood, they're a bit more glitzy, a bit more stylish, and a bit cuter than others. Crumbs and Whiskers Cat Cafe and Kitten Lounge combine illuminated pink lighting and fuzzy white carpets and pillows for kittens to roam and play. In the U.S., California and Texas are the two #1 states for the highest kill rate due to overpopulation. And that's what's trending today.
The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has unveiled a new policy that will impede immigrants already in the United States from obtaining permanent residency or citizenship if they use public benefits such as Medicaid or housing assistance. Activists are protesting the rule, announcing on Monday, saying it unfairly targets poor immigrants. As VOA's Patsy Widakuswara.
Arturo Balbino entered the U.S. illegally 14 years ago. He has an American wife and children and a letter from his construction company employer guaranteeing him a job. Yet in March, his green card application was denied. The reason? His family's use of food stamps and Medicaid, assistance programs for low-income households.
I want to think that everything will be okay and I'll be able to be with my family again. It's very difficult to think that I won't be able to return to watch my children grow up.
There will be more people like Balbino, immigrants denied legal status because they are deemed to be a burden to taxpayers, based on a new policy announced Monday.
President Trump's administration is reinforcing the ideals of self-sufficiency and personal responsibility, ensuring that immigrants are able to support themselves and become successful here in America. Our rule generally prevents aliens who are likely to become a public charge from coming to the United States or remaining here and getting a green card.
A public charge is defined as an individual who receives one or more designated public benefits, such as medical or housing assistance, for more than 12 months within any 36-month period. Immigration activists accuse the administration of unfairly targeting poor immigrants. The rule won't take effect until mid-October, but the impact is already felt by immigrant communities.
this public charge rule has deterred some individuals from trying to access public benefits just because they're worried about either being detected by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, for instance, for immigration enforcement actions, or being targeted by this public charge rule.
President Trump is running for re-election in 2020, and his tough stance on immigration may win him support.
With his base, this is something that, I think is very much a win for him and something that he may be touting in the future, especially if Democrats continue talking about expanding public benefits for, illegal immigrants.
The rule does not affect humanitarian-based immigration programs for refugees and asylum seekers and contains exemption for victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. The rule also does not impact family-based immigration, as citizens who sponsor family members for a green card already have to produce an affidavit of support showing that they can provide financial assistance. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News at the White House.
Well, it's time for our health segment, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with a report on world hunger. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Vincent. The United Nations says it aims to eliminate hunger by the year 2030. It's one of the Sustainable Development Goals that the world body has set forward. The number of undernourished people has dropped by almost 50% in the past 2 decades, according to the UN. However, the new edition of the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World reveals that hunger is on the rise in almost all African sub-regions, making the continent the region with the highest prevalence of undernourishment, at almost 20%. Gilbert Humbo is president of the International Fund for Agricultural Development.
What is quite even more of concern, this is since 2015, essentially since the signing the Agenda 2030 for the 17 SDGs, which call for zero hunger by 2030. And since then, the number of people suffering for that, people that are food insecure is increasing. So we are far from achieving the 2030 goal. So what I'm saying is that, however, if we are able to take much more proper action today, we still can keep the hope. In the case of Africa, we have to also look at case by case in terms of the countries. But we do know that worldwide there are 3 major factors, and those 3 factors clearly apply in the case of Africa. One is the countries in crisis situation, whether it's a man-made crisis or natural disaster. That has a direct impact on the food insecurity. The second one is the climate change, whether it's a climate change or the extreme condition. A good example is what's happening in Mozambique a few months ago with the cyclone Idai and Kenneth. The third dimension is the economic slowdown. And that economic slowdown, we know that most of the low-income countries are in Africa, so they are much more prone to be affected by the economic slowdown, the direct impact on the food insecurity. The point that is also even much of concern is that when you start disaggregating the data, you will notice that the women and the children are those that are suffering more of this food insecurity, and people living in the rural area. And we know that in Africa, globally, 60% to 2/3 of the population live in Africa, and that agriculture contributes up to 20, 25, even 30% in some cases to the GDP. So by solving this problem, not only is it a moral thing to address, not only is it almost a humanitarian situation to address, but it's also an economic and social must, and we really need to act on that.
It is estimated that over 2 billion people have no regular access to safe and nutritious and sufficient food, including 8% of the population in North America and Europe. The United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says malaria has killed more than 1,800 people in Burundi this year. The death toll rivals a deadly Ebola outbreak in neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. In its latest situation report, OCHA says 5.7 million cases of malaria have been recorded in Burundi in 2019. Of those cases, a total of 1,800 died from the mosquito-borne disease in Burundi between January 1st and July 21st. According to the UN humanitarian agency, the outbreak crossed, quote, epidemic proportions in May. But the country still has not declared a national emergency.
It is only the government, the Ministry of Health, which has the authority to declare that there is an epidemic. We can see that there are people who are continuing to die, but the word epidemic is only for the minister in charge of public health to introduce. The day when everyone, let's say all the stakeholders in the health sector, will come together and say, what are the problems we are facing in Burundi with the fight against malaria? Then we will find a good solution to save human lives.
OCHA says a lack of preventative measures like mosquito nets, climatic changes, and increased movements of people from mountain areas with low immunity to malaria are driving the crisis. On a more positive note, a pair of conjoined twins from Senegal are defying the odds and making unexpected progress, much to the surprise of their doctors and parents.
Happy birthday to you.
Congenital twins, Mariam and Ndeye, were only expected to live a few days, but today they are settling in their new home in Britain. Doctors are surprised by their progress. Dr. Gillian Buddy is their pediatrician.
So they're actually doing very well. We started those last year when there were concerns that Mariam's heart wasn't working so well. And as you know, at that point, we thought she was very much dependent on Ndeye. And so the tests just look at their hemoglobin, which carries the oxygen, and the oxygen levels in the girls were started to try and see if we could pick up any deterioration early in case there was the opportunity to separate them.
Originally from Senegal, the twins' father brought his daughters to Britain in the hope they would get a better life. Doctors considered separating them, but although they have separate hearts and spines, the girls share a liver, bladder, and digestive system, making surgery impossible. But their father has a very positive attitude.
Yeah, from what the consultant told me,
from the strength of their feet and their hips, there's no reason that they couldn't walk. There's no reason that they couldn't walk. So all of this is just subject to the fact that if they are healthy enough. So there's no reason for that not to happen. However, he remains realistic about some of the challenges ahead. I know what I want for them to happen, and I will do whatever possible for it to happen. I've got the best team of people that can help it happen, but all of this is related to their situation. Whatever we try to put in place, we just have to keep in consideration that the situation is still here. Nothing has changed. The girls currently attend nursery for a few hours a week. In September, the 3-year-old twins will attend nursery 5 days a week, reaching another milestone.
That's our health report for today. Vincent?
Well, thanks, Lenore, and that's it. Have a good night.